now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tactical Tuesday, or welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. It's Tuesday. We're getting extra tactical today because it's Tactical Tuesday. We're back. It's been a week since I've been on the channel live at all because I was out at Adepticon, the great mecca of tabletop wargaming, and it was an absolute delight. I probably have picked up that my voice is absolutely shot from talking to people all weekend. I don't have a cold or anything. I'm not sick, I swear. I've literally just worn my poor old windpipes out. So that's what's up. Huge thanks to everybody who came and hung out with me over at the booth, the Breachstorm booth, over the weekend. It was absolutely crazy. I had dozens and dozens of people come up and say hi. And that was amazing. It was awesome to talk with everybody and to see everybody. And I really appreciate everybody who came by. I appreciate everybody who came to check out Breachstorm as well. If you don't know about that, I made a video about it the week before last, actually, at this point. And yeah, we had an amazing show. We brought dozens of new people into the game, and it was super awesome. And we got to talk some 40K as well. So I got back super late last night, and I have not had a chance to go through the results for this weekend. As you probably have noticed, there was no Monday video this week because I was literally driving back from the convention at the time, so I didn't have a chance to get through any of that stuff. But that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to dive into some of the big events from this week. It was a huge week for 40K. We had not only, obviously, the Adepticon Championships, we also had the Manchester GT Super Major. There was the Firebug Open as well. That was another major level event. So this is, I think, one of the biggest weekends of 10th edition that we've had so far. So we have so much big and exciting stuff to talk about. Hell yeah. This is Inky's stream now. Yeah. Basically. Yeah, she is. So yeah, she's obviously she's missed me a little bit. I think she was a little lonely. I have my neighbors come in and check in on her and give her pets and stuff, but it's not the normal level of attention she was looking for. So I was just running some errands. I had to drop off the truck that we used to travel to the convention this afternoon. And as soon as I came back and sat down just to turn the stream on, she was right on top of me. And I was like, Inky, I haven't plugged my lights in yet. I'm not ready to go. And she's like, too fucking bad, dude. You live here now. You have to keep giving me some pets until I don't know, the end of the world, Judgment Day and Kingdom Come. What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming in the chat. Let's get into some frickin' Inky is for the masses. Yeah, I appreciate all the people who are like, oh, hey, man, it's nice to see you. Thanks for, it's, cool booth you got here. I like your content. There's no Inky, though. Where's Inky? I'm not interested without Inky. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's this is Inky's world. We just live in it. So, yeah, let's talk about some frickin' stuff. One plus space saves spent too much time bugging me in Adepticon. No, it's all good, dude. I like to hear the saga of Necrons through the Champs GT was pretty good. And shout out to our friends over at Reanimation Protocols. I might be talking about them a little bit more on the channel. Pat over there, who is also hanging out with people at my booth, and talked a lot of 40K with people. He's another 40K Necron player, but he's got a cool supplement. That he's coming out with and hung out with people as well. I have Inky time to catch up on. It's true. Yeah, absolutely. She was mad because when I got back last night and she didn't like yell at me or anything or screech. Sometimes if she hears me opening the door, she hi. Oh, you know I'm talking about you? Yeah, okay. Come on up. Oh, come say hi to chat. There she is. There's the kitty. Yeah, she didn't screech at me or anything. She told me off. I got into my room and I turned the light on and she got up and she looked directly at me and she went meow 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 and then went back to sleep. I was like, oh my god, I just got the cold shoulder. This cat hates me now. All right, we'll talk about some freaking 40K now. I swear. When will Tau points be updated? Dude, I have no idea. I wish I had a good answer for you because we've been kind of suffering under the weight of these really kind of infrequent content drops on new releases. That was a real problem with the with the new Dark Angels release is it basically wasn't tournament legal for weeks because we didn't get a points update. I hope the same thing doesn't happen with Tau. It is like a full faction codex and not a supplement. So hopefully they jump on that a little bit faster, but I'm crossing my fingers because the points in that document are atrocious. But if they get good points, I think Tau is going to be continuing to do fairly well. Want an Inky meta review? Inky, what do you think about Alyssa win? She's like, I only want Black Templars to win. She's a Black Templars player at heart. She's inflicting lethal hits with those claws. Maybe she's a Raven Guard player because she's very still. Oh yeah, she's such a cutie pie. All right, let's talk about some freaking Adepticon because we've already kind of dived into it. I apparently Oh no, I'm logged into my account. I don't know what happened there. That's weird. Yeah, my account is active. All right, cool. It gave me a notification that I didn't have an active account. Get out of here, BCP. What are you doing with your life? That's not right. Look at this top 4 chat. Gorgeous. Tab Empire, Thousand Suns, Necrons, Chaos Demons. Dive into some Thousand Suns. It's when the cat puts me in the doghouse. It's true. Inky, can you not stand on my keyboard? All right, she's gonna go right in front of the camera. Maybe. Well, we'll see if I can read these lists because there's a cat in front of them now. Brandon Valet with Tau Empire. Cold Star and Enforcer Commander. Precision of the Hunter on the Enforcer Battlesuit, plus Dark Strider for the anti-Deep Strike aura. Double Breacher Team, Devilfish for the Fishies of Fury. We don't have any Cadre Fireblades for them, though, right? Yeah, so they're just shooting their normal 2 shots, not 3. Plus 1 Crisis Battlesuit Brick for the Exemplar guy, 3 Piranhas, Riptide Battlesuit, 2 Sky Rays, 1 Stealth, double Tetra. So I think fairly well-rounded. Kind of standard. 2 Devilfish bricks. The Skyray gunships are cool. They add a little bit of high strength damage output, which the list is really lacking. Sort of the classic list that's running triple Riptides plus the Crisis brick really kind of caps out at strength 8 or so. And it can have a little bit of it can struggle a little bit with the super high toughness enemies. The Skyray gunships give you a little bit of an answer to that because they come in base strength. What are they? Strength 14, I think, and then they have a floating reroll from their targeting system as well. So the Skyrays are a good sort of long range artillery piece. Plus you have the Piranhas in there. The Piranhas are all bringing double Seeker missiles, so they can really like spike damage a lot. And the other interesting interaction that we've been seeing with Piranhas is they shut off reactive stratagems. So they kind of act as a little bit of a passive output increaser simply because they can turn off things like improved invulnerable saves or Armor of Contempt that you would normally be reliant on to keep big heavy units alive, and the Piranhas can force enough battle shock checks on you that oftentimes you'll fail them going into the Tau shooting phase, and they can shoot you without penalty. So, yeah, I think this list is clearly going the way of the Dodo, but I think that people are moving into those tank varieties, and I think the Fire Warrior themed kind of unit archetypes inside the faction are going to see a lot more play in the new codex. Not necessarily Fire Warriors themselves. I don't know if strike teams are particularly that are that much better. Their abilities, I think, a little bit better. They can suppress you now. Instead of giving their improved Overwatch that you would never use on them anyway. But I don't think that I still don't know if the regular dude with the pulse rifle sort of profile is really what Tau is looking for. But breacher teams are definitely still going to be strong, and the tanks look like they're going to be insane. So, seems pretty good. Why struggle with toughness when you have rail cannons? Well, the rail cannon, I think that people have been moving off of it because it's very inconsistent. The Skyray gunship fires a multi-shot profile, so it's not dead into heavy infantry. So when people they're rocking rail cannon profiles into custodians or something, and the rail cannon's okay, but it can only ever kill one enemy, and it's actually pretty unlikely that it kills one anyway. Whereas the Skyray gunship can spike really hard, has bonuses against flyers, has marker lights itself, so it also works as a pretty good spotter. it just has like a ton of benefits over the rail cannon. And the rail cannon is really good against super heavily armored targets, but it's not very well rounded, right? It's only good against those heavy armored targets. And you're still going to need to put 3 or 4 rail cannon shots into something to kill it reliably anyway. So we might as well just be taking the guys that shoot more times anyway. Breacher teams are so scary. Yeah, Breacher teams are super pushed. I definitely, I don't know if I would expect them to go to the same points level as they have them in the new codex. I think they're like nuts. They're like 130 points or something. I don't know if I would expect them to be that cost, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Breacher teams increase in value. It is surprising to me that they remained weapons or ballistic skill 3, but I think it's actually a positive for the faction because I think that Tau super needs something that can fight over objectives in the center of the table. That's always been their problem, is that like you push, you know, they can do tons of damage at range, but you push up on their gun line, you engage their battle suits and you threaten their backline stuff, and suddenly like they can table you, but they're going to lose on VPs before the end of the game. And the Breacher teams can go out aggressively, do damage to your opponent, and then also contest objectives. And their threat range is long enough with Devilfish, you know, either moving out and disembarking or just disembarking, advancing, and shooting themselves, that they actually can steal objectives at a pretty long distance. And that's not really Tau. This is something that Tau has had access to before. Like they could throw Fire Warriors at your objectives, but they wouldn't actually do anything. They would just be throwing bodies into the meat grinder. And Breacher teams like go. I don't know if they'd necessarily pay for their points cost 90% of the time. They need a lot of support to do that in one shot, but they'll go a pretty reasonable length of the way, and then also throw a bunch of OT2 idiots wherever you want them to be. And that is it's just a really really necessary tool for Tau to succeed. And I kind of appreciate that they recognized that they were like, guys, we can't have this faction that's entirely focused on close range shooting be ballistic skill 4 all the time. It's just not untenable. Like strike teams better than Breachers? Better than Breachers.
/ succinctly selects seductively spicy space marines.
Brian G, thank you for this. Thank you for this seductive super chat. Thanks text to speech. Slanch. Give myself some delicious slanch dressing for that salad. Yum yum yum. All right, let's drop down in Adepticon a little bit. We talk about TJ Lanigan over here. The man, the myth, the legend himself, continuing to rock it with Thousand Suns. I know he was taking G-Stealer calls for a little bit, but he's kind of bounced off of them because I think they're really sad right now. Those guys are going to be excited when they get a new codex, I think, and they get more avenues of play. I'd love to see some vehicle play out of G-Stealer cults. Their vehicles are so cool, but they're just like so underpushed right now. Thousand Suns still doing well. Not necessarily being able to win events quite as much as we would hope, but they're still able to put in the work. Got Ahriman. Triple disc sorcerers? Whoa. That's nuts. So these guys slow you down. They target you with their psychic power. They give you half movement, advance, and charge rolls. That half is super impactful because it's not -2 like you would expect. It's also, unlike a lot of the other suppressive effects in the game, it's not locked to infantry. There are no particular keywords on it. It also doesn't care whether you fly. Like it literally doesn't. You can do it on anything you want. So this, we're really seeing like a push towards, I think, trying to slow down the really defensive bricks that want to like roll up in the middle of the table and survive for a really long time. Thousand Suns can deal with one of those at a time. All right, Thousand Suns can output absolutely ludicrous, almost more damage than almost like most of the factions in the game can output in a single turn. But they have a really tough time doing that repeatedly, and they have a really tough time doing that to multiple units at a time. But if you're able to force your opponent to only be able to engage you with 1 or 2 units, you can suddenly actually get your damage through. Not to mention the fact that Thousand Suns infantry is really squishy. And so the last thing they want to do is see like a Canoptek Wraith unit get up in their lines and start punching Rubric Marines, because those Rubric Marines will die instantaneously. They have a very low vapor pressure. As a coworker of mine used to say, it would just disappear as soon as you uncork that bottle. All the dust flies away, gets sucked up. One Arcane Vortex Infernal Master, one Demon Prince with wings, with Lord of Forbidden Lore and Magnus the Red. I'm gonna be honest with you, chat. I don't even know what the winged Demon Prince does. Oh no, that's not true. He has a bombing effect, I believe, in Thousand Suns. Nope, I'm in the wrong document here. That is embarrassing. Here we go. That's super cool. This was streamed by, I believe that the Warhammer channel and War Games Live was there streaming. I said hi to Joe. We had a couple conversations. Seems like things were going well on his end, which is super cool. Yeah, so the Winged Demon Prince, you rolled 9d6, of course, each his number. You suffer one mortal wound. Into your opponent's turn, you can uppy downy him. Okay, all right. So he's a 9 wound, 2+ save, or excuse me, 10 wound, 2+ save, T10, kind of pseudo action monkey, right? He's this bizarre 11-inch move value. That's a little bit strange, but you can uppy downy him, and I believe that we have a crystal on one of the disc sorcerers. I really like it on the disc sorcerer, by the way. The way the timing works with this thing is that his effect comes into play at the end of your movement phase. So you can uppy downy him and then drop him in. If your opponent is hiding the stuff that you don't want the disc sorcerer to see, let's bring up his data sheet here. Actually, there's like a ton of idiosyncrasies with the disc sorcerer that I think a lot of people don't really necessarily know. So the reason you put Umbralific Crystal on him instead of a more combat oriented unit is not only does it make him a good utility unit, but he can drop in line of sight of something that you need to Binding Tendrils. So you have to have visibility to the thing that you Binding Tendrils. So the counterplay obviously is that you hide that thing, but it's hard to hide, both hide and screen out every avenue that can get line of sight to him with a Deep Strike, which is what Umbralific Crystal is, right? The other thing is that the range is limited to 18 inches, but the way that range is measured in 40k is super weird. Anytime you measure for an attack, both your range and line of sight is measured to the same unit in the target, in the same model in the enemy unit. So, for example, if you're hiding behind a building and I can only see the last guy in your formation, I have to measure the range of my ranged weapons to that guy. That is not how range measurements work in any other situation. So if I am selecting an enemy unit that's visible and within 18 inches, all I have to see is that last guy in the formation, but I have to measure range to the closest point of that unit. So I measure range to the front guy of the formation. So it's actually super hard to stop the Binding Tendrils from going off with the crystal. And even if you have to deploy him really aggressively to get that off, you can then use Temporal Surge to run him away. It's really cool combination because they all the timings work like to get, sort of together in a good way for it. Jealous of Thousand Suns getting an auto include Primarch. Yeah, I mean, it is nice, right? I mean, I guess it's nice and it's not nice. I actually don't really like it, to be honest. I think that Thousand Suns are a really interesting faction with lots of cool combos, and it sucks that Magnus the Red is so, like, intrinsic to the success of the faction that you have to play him. You're basically not allowed to play Thousand Suns without him. And I know you can occasionally, like we see some lists that are like vehicle centric and stuff too, but it's, he's the reason you're playing the faction, right? He's the most powerful unit in the index, hands down. It's not even close. And I think it restricts the build variety of Thousand Suns. Once they get a codex, it'll be better. And honestly, like, it's not like the faction's like in a really like bad way, but yeah. But it's all right. So, okay. I think I'm seeing a little bit of the combo here. So we've taken Lord of Forbidden Lore on the What is it, baby girl? We're taking Lord of Forbidden Lore on the Demon Prince. I guess he only averages 1.5 mortal wounds for each application of Sorcerer's Fire. But one of the exciting things that we have is that Lord of Forbidden Lore lets him cast Temporal Surge multiple times. So as long as someone else has already Temporal Surged, it's permanently unlocked for the Winged Demon Prince. As long as within that phase. because you can continuously select him to cast a ritual every time you cast a ritual. So you can potentially be making like 3 or 4 normal moves with him every turn if you are dumping temporal surges into him. I don't think you really want that. I think you're mostly going to be using it to... It's probably more efficient to just throw Doom Bolts out, but with an up-A downy, you can get really, really good angles on the Doom Bolts and things, so I can definitely understand. Just mad you can't bring Lionel Johnson unless it's a meme list. Yeah, the Lion's a little bit sad. We watched a super sick Lion game last week at Ides of March. The Lionel Johnson killed about 600 points of Space Marine vehicles, I think, in that game. Unfortunately, he went down to a single fight phase, which is a little bit awkward. I don't even think his old stats would have saved him. Actually, they might have. Having a 1 damage sweep attack was really unfortunate. If he had still his 2 damage sweep attack, he would have been okay. It felt like he was a little bit too defensively oriented in his previous version, but and I think they wanted to like his good invulnerable save plus the -1 to wound was like a lot, but it would have been nice to sort of retain it. Chaos Primarchs are best Primarchs. I mean, I can't get over my love affair with Robo Booty Gilly Man. I think that guy's unironically super duper good. I'm surprised he doesn't show up more often in competitive lists because I actually think he's kind of nuts, especially because he just got a points cut, right? Didn't he just drop to like 350? Or am I crazy? I think I might be crazy. No, he did get a points cut, right? Yeah, he dropped a couple points. Although I think that might have been a days late ago. I don't know. I have trouble keeping track. We got more Rubric Marines, a big unit of 10 for Armon to hang out with. More Rubric Marines. We do have an Armon, right? Yeah, we have an Armon. Big unit of 10 with Warflamers, little unit of 5 with Warflamers. We don't have any... There's not a single Soul Reaper cannon in those units. That's nuts. It's funny because like I think the Soul Reaper cannon is actually really good in the Arcane Vortex squad, but I guess we're leaving it at home. We also brought some Zangors. Interesting. I know Zangors have kind of been a meme, but I guess like we're just having a unit of idiots with a solid and vulnerable save. It's not even that solid. They're just there. Reroll advanced and charge rolls, and they have, I don't know, 2 melee attacks apiece. Maybe it's fine. I guess like there are some situations where you can double count their like relic hunters, right? Where you can get multiple rolls on the chart. And being base OC2 is good. That's kind of rare in Thousand Suns, so they're good at stealing objectives. Better than cultists anyway. Cultists are only OC1. We've got a Mutalith Vortex Beast. They're kind of becoming a staple. Big unit of Thousand Suns cultists, or I mean a regularly sized unit, I guess. 2 units of Zangor Enlightened or 3 units of Zangor Enlightened, excuse me, for objectives, and that is the list. Very technical. This list sounds really hard to play. Triple disc sorcerers is absolutely nuts. That's super sick. Can you run 3 exalted? Absolutely, you can. Yeah, you can run. I mean, I have a video about it, but you can run between exalteds and standard sorcerers. You can run 12, I think. Because you have 3 sorcerers, 3 Terminator sorcerers, 3 exalted sorcerers, 3 disc exalted sorcerers, and then you could also run 3 infernal masters as well. So you can have 15,000 Suns characters plus the epic heroes. You know, which is a lot. We got to 17 characters, I think, at the end of that list. And no other units, only characters. Although, like, real talk, the Zangor Shamans are like kind of goated if you're trying to do Kabbalistic ritual shenanigans. Goated, no pun absolutely intended for sure. Because they're like a little 10-inch move that has the Cabal of Sorcerer's ability, so he can cast rituals, so he can like run out and do temporal surges and throw doom bolts and stuff. He's good. I don't know. He's also got a little devastating wounds gun. Shoots D6 devastating wound shots. It's kind of fun. Yeah, go watch that video, by the way, chat. I think it's called I won Warhammer 40k with all using nothing but wizards. I don't know. Nobody watched that video when it came out. It made me sad. Those videos took like 30 hours to make. Made me so sad. All right, Shaun. Let's take a look at what we got over here. Number 3. We got a Hypercrypt Legion with a Chronomancer, double dragons, a Royal Warden, Plasmancer, Transcendent Catan, 40 Necron Warriors, 3 Locust Destroyers, Monolith. Okay, so we're running the Necron Warrior list. We're back into Silverside with this one. Drop to the Immortals like they're hot. Yeah, I don't know. We've seen lists like this popping up in the last probably 2 weeks or so. I don't know if I have too much to say about them. They're just like, they're stacking a bunch of defensive benefits on these guys, right? So we have a Luminar Ceres for -1 AP. We have a Chronomancer for -1 to hit, and then they double move. And then you're throwing 20 wounds that move after shooting, and they can drop next to your opponent with an Eternity Gate. So you can hyper phase the Monolith. It's the same thing that we did with the Immortals with Matt Laura's list, except we're doing it with 40 models instead of like 20 models. They also, like, it's very difficult to one-shot them, so they typically get to use their Hyperphasic Recall to jump back to the Monolith more easily, too. It's harder to prevent that from happening. So, like, they're just a really, really good kind of board control piece, and a lot of times what they do is, like, they get a bunch of damage out of the Monolith and the characters, and then the Necron Warriors, like, they contribute a little bit, but, like, they just gum you up and stop you from moving anywhere, because they can Cosmic Precision, like, into the middle of the table, like 3 inches away from your whole army, and you can't move. So a lot of interesting things you do with the big units in that list. The Royal Warden's a cool inclusion, by the way, because all Necron detachments, but Hypercrypt Legion in particular gets really, really shafted by being engaged in melee because they can't fall back and do anything, and they can't pull out of combat outside of the Eternity Gate, to be fair. And the Royal Warden gives you more outs if you get engaged with multiple units. In top 16, Necron players misplaying his Necron Warriors. They were hitting on 3s, and he was reeling wounds with the after hyperphasing. Yeah, I could honestly, like, that's a super easy mistake to make, I think, because they've been 3+ ballistic skill for like 20 years. And then they changed in 9th. Did they? Were they 3 up in 9th? I know they went to 4 recently because they got +1 to hit from their like index detachment. What was their weapon skill last year? Or in last edition? Wikipedia saved me. Oh, I'm in 10th edition. God damn it. Let me tell you, chat. Wikipedia is such a cool. It's like restoring video games. You know what I mean? It's like such a cool archival tool where we get to like reminisce about stuff that happened last edition, and it's just saved like forever, at least until somebody shuts them down, I guess, on Wikipedia. And I think that's sick. Yeah, so they're 3+ ballistic skill like 6 months ago, and then they got changed in 10th because they like theoretically would get bonuses to hit, I guess. Yeah. But so and then like on top of that, right? I imagine like this list has only really become popular, like I said, in the last 2 weeks. So for the last, couple months since the release of the Codex, you've been playing Immortals with the combo. And Immortals are 3+ ballistic skill and reroll wounds most of the time because they're shooting on objective. So like that's a totally understandable like mistake to make. Like I totally get that. You're just like, oh, I've been playing this. I just took the shittier version of the other unit and it's just like cheaper, but there's more of them and they're easier to kill. Like whatever, I get it. But it's the same unit, right? And you're like, no, not really. Actually, it's really different. So like, yeah, no, that I can understand that one. That one seems forgivable for sure. If there's like a bunch of stuff going on, that's whatever. But if he just mixes up the abilities of 2 units, so, I get it. But also read your fucking data sheets, chat. Like, I don't know. it's one of the things I know. Like, I love Joe, and I think Joe's an incredibly positive force in the community. He and I don't really we don't agree on whether or not there should be intervention into games. I think that it's a really good example of where I think like active judging and especially like active intervention from coverage. And I'm not saying that like I think Joe should have stood up and gone and told the guy his rules, but I think he should have like notified a judge, right, and been like, hey, this is a serious misplay. Because as soon as you do that, right, and the player gets notified, maybe they get carded, maybe something happens. I don't know. Maybe there's nothing happens. That's up to the judges entirely. As soon as that happens, the situation's over. It's resolved. We don't have to deal with it anymore. And I know a lot of players that I've spoken to who appreciate that, like when someone can call them on a rule, and then you check it, and you're like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm done. It's done. You don't have to worry about it. But especially if you're on a stream, right, and you're watching a game and the rule gets misplayed. First of all, the game's like of questionable usefulness, right? Like you're not really benefiting from in a competitive standpoint from watching content where the rules are being misplayed because you can't replicate those results in your own games unless you're cheating, in which case the fuck out. But also like that player knows immediately, and there is no discourse after the fact, right? Like there is no Reddit thread about the player who was reminded of his rules by a judge on the stream game. Because it's resolved, it's done. But if nobody talks about it, then suddenly it opens it up for this like witch hunt to happen after the fact. And I think it's more positive to like remind people that they're misplaying rules. I mean, I think it's just a philosophical agreement. I don't think there's like an actual right answer either way. I totally understand Joe's point about it, but that's just my 2 cents, I think. But ultimately, it's like the call of the judges too. Anytime I stream event, I have a discussion with the judges beforehand. Hey, what do you want me to do? If I see somebody misplaying something, should I tell them? Should I not tell them? Should I tell you? Literally, entirely up to the TOs. The salt in the game was insane. Oh man, those can be kind of fun and like a Schadenfreudig way, right? You're just like, oh man, y'all gotta stop taking toy soldiers so seriously. But I get it. I'm a salty guy. I salt out a lot. Handful of different mistakes. His attitude toward the end just sucked. Felt really bad for the Thousand Suns player. Oh, is that against TJ? Wow. Shout out to TJ. What a like success story TJ has been about I don't know, just like his conduct in the competitive scene. You know? It's a win for legit dudes and against cheaters. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I don't know. We don't have to dive into it too much. It seems like it was a mistake, and especially if you're frazzled, right? It's like a high pressure game and you're like, oh God, maybe I'm losing or whatever, and you're just like misremembering rules and you're not like checking yourself. It's easier. Like, I'll say this, if you're in a chill environment and you're not getting shit on, like, I don't know what the game state was, to be fair. It's much easier to check yourself. Whereas you're like, if you're salting out and it's like a high pressure scenario, especially like, the stream can add pressure and everything. Like you there's like a fight or flight response where you're like, I just want the situation to be over. So you just bust through the game, right? You're just like, all right, I'm going to do my thing. I like reroll and some shit. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm losing anyway. And like, so I can understand how that wouldn't have been double checked too. I don't know. I get it. Hi, baby. What do you think about misplays on stream? Oh, is it different Thousand Suns? Oh, okay. Well, my bad. I mean, still shout out to GJ for like being chill after all the stuff that went down with him. We didn't get to watch TJ's game. Try to tell your opponents if you ever get over competitive and are ruining the game, just tell me, let's step aside for a second. Yeah, I think that's like a really healthy. I mean, shout out to the people who have the self-control to do that, right? Like, there, you know, I have like the greatest respect. I'm being attacked by cat right now. I have the greatest respect for the people who are like, they like a dice roll happens or they misremember a rule or something, and they just look at the table and you go, hey man, I'm gonna take 10 or whatever, and they just like go outside and they like walk, or they like walk around the hall, they go to the bathroom and they like wash their face or something. Like I don't do that. I just rage in my head. Sometimes not in my head, sometimes outside of my head, which is a problem that I'm still trying to work on. But the people who can do that, I'm like, that's how everybody should be. That's how everybody should be. But not everybody, you know, it's mentally incredibly tough. Let's talk about some incredible cast demons, by the way, chat. I think under stress, forget your own moves, you cheat yourself. Under stress, sometimes I like, yeah. I don't know. I lost my train of thought where that was going. I was mostly excited about all these Skull Masters. So Kevin Leonard over here, Absolute Chad running Be'lakor, a Rendmaster on Blood Throne. Triple Skull Masters. Only one Rendmaster. That is atrocious. 18 Blood Crushers, 15 Flesh Hounds, 3 Skull Cannons. We're all in, boys. That's where the Rendmasters went. They traded in their rides for Skull Cannons. Yeah, I don't know. I also have a video about this list. You want to hear what happened with all the stupid wombo combos with this list? All right there. Check them out. Kind of weird that people have so many reps in the game still make mistakes of that kind. Yeah, so something I will say too, if you want to get super competitive with 40K, I think this is like an important note for the record. And in 10th edition, I've been branching out with my gameplay a lot more than I ever have previously. I think because 10th edition is really, really conducive to playing different factions because faction mechanics are less complicated. And I think because it has like so many interesting combos, like constructed by the leader ability and all, you know, the actual game design put into the edition. And I think, but that said, it's always been part of the competitive game that if you want to be at the level where you're winning Adepticon, you're winning these super majors, you have to be flexible in the factions that you play, right? Like, you know, you have to play not necessarily flavor of the month, but your faction selection is part of your answer to a metagame. And that can make it more difficult to remember the idiosyncrasies of specific rules, like whether or not Arisen Tyrant rerolls hit rolls and wound rolls, or ones to hit and then hit rolls. You know what I mean? Because like Arisen Tyrant is modal based on whether you've set up on the table. And like I said before, you know, another unit that you typically put it on also rerolls its wound rolls. So you can, you know, sometimes you forget, oh, was that the other ability or is that the Arisen Tyrant ability? And like maybe that player, you know, has only played Necrons for a little bit and hasn't gone through the whole codex, right? They're probably not a faction purist. And these people who are playing tons and tons of different factions, like they, you know, it's harder to like steel trap all of the rules. So like, I understand that people would like forget a specific thing, especially if they're jumping factions very often, but it's just up to other people to like put them on notice if they do that. I don't know. Also, Tyranids have been gutted, yeah. Dude, if I could play three flying hive tyrants and kill everyone with them, then that's what I would be doing. Definitely. You want to go all the way up? Okay, my arm's definitely not getting tired. It's okay. All right. Well, this list rules. I don't know if I have too much to say about this. We've talked about the Blood Crusher list quite a bit, and it's super good. Super good. Or a faction master, you can slide into every meta. Yeah, it depends on the faction, to be fair. Like, if you're a Space Marine player, it's much easier to counter the meta constantly than it is if you're, like, for example, a Necrons player, right? Like, Necrons are good in very slim periods because they just don't have that much, unit diversity in their faction, so it depends on what you're trying to do. We got a Tyranids top 8 here. Ben Andraka running Vanguard Onslaught. What's up? Vanguard Onslaught, you excited? You'd play Vanguard Onslaught, I bet. You're like, oh, I love reactive moves. I love reactive moves and being stealthy. That's my favorite thing. Should be like a super cool app. Hey, maybe you should have a rules page on your website that lists all of the rules of your game for free. Hashtag Breachstorm. Hashtag always be plugging. Hi, baby. You wanna set my arm? Yeah, there you go. Maybe not so much. So we've got Deathleaper. We've got a Broodlord. Oh, speaking of Winged Hive Tyrants, Ben Andraka heard me say Winged Hive Tyrant, and he retroactively put one in his list. With Chameleon Onyx, so it has Stealth. It's a great upgrade for that guy. He's got base 2 plus save plus Stealth is like a really awkward... Like a 2 plus 4 plus with Stealth is a really awkward profile to kill. Do not scratch my jeans, kitty cat. I will disown you. We're running a Biovore, 10 Gene Stealers, 2 Lictors, a Neuro Lictor, 1 Pyrovore, 3 Von Ryan's Leapers. We had a lot of discourse about the Von Ryan's Leapers recently because they're really good against really aggressive matchups, which is cool. Big Zoanthropes. A lot of times we see 1 unit in Strategic Reserve, so you can use Seeded Broods to drop it in turn 1. I believe that's how that works, right? That's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's not always slightly different. I believe that you can drop anything out of reserve on turn 1 with Seeded Broods, but it might require you to Deep Strike. Because it's crazy. Seeded Broods. Your movement phase. Oh yeah, anybody in reserve. Yeah, so you can turn 1 Deep Strike the Zoanthrope unit for 1 CP. Or not Deep Strike, but you can strategic reserve them, which means that you can like sort of alpha strike stuff when your opponent's not really expecting it. It's very difficult to screen out all the possible angles on a 24-inch range laser gun that's jumping out of the table edge. But you can also just like, I guess you can't sit them in the middle and be very effective because you don't have a Foot Hive Tyrant. So this unit is, the army's not super fast in terms of the shooting. Because it doesn't have assault. 1 Maliceptor, 1 Trigon, so we can turn 1 Deep Strike the Trigon if we wanted to. These guys should be Vanguard Invaders. Don't at me, by the way. But that's clutch. That's sick. You can be like, oh shit, I drew like the stupid. Like, deploy teleport homers are behind enemy lines, turn 1. You're like, Windmill Slam a Trigon, your deployment zone. Get wrecked. Plus a Maleceptor, plus double Haru specs. This list is wild. This list is like a pre-nerf index Tyranid list. Except it's just running Vanguard Onslaught, with has 10 Gene Stealers in it. That's sick. Vanguard Onslaught is super cool. This army had 4 units in melee before the World Eater's first turn. Popped Anger on turn 1 with 6 Zoanthropes. Finish it off with the Broodlord. Dude. Absolute Chad. So, yeah, it's funny. Like, when I was playtesting at Vanguard, I ran the big Zoanthrope brick for the exact same reason. And I just never had a situation where I wanted to turn 1 Deep Strike it. And so I was always like, I'll just play it normal, I guess. But yeah, no, that's sick. I could see this list being like unironically an absolute nightmare for World Eaters, right? If you don't have like a range focused World Eaters list, there's so much forward operators that are preventing your scout moves and fighting first. So like you don't even like cleanly engage into them because you lose a couple guys going in. You're just constantly being hammered by the guns. And then even if you get close, right? The Winged Hive Tyrant drops your, like basically just like counteracts your detachment ability because he drops your attacks by 1. So if you have the big bricks of like Berserkers or something, he's like, hey, minus 11 attacks, my good man. And suddenly you're not even like efficiently clearing stuff back. Like the Maleceptor doesn't die in that situation. The Maleceptor probably doesn't die anyway, but like it means 8-bound of a tough time getting rid of the Maleceptor. And you have reactive moves like up the wazoo. You have like a lot of fast aggressive stuff. You're like at least sort of like not necessarily matching your threat range. I think World Eaters still threat farther, but you have more like a similar threat range, so they can't really like just play the long range threat game. That's really cool. Neuro Node gives you redeploys after the roll to go first. It doesn't really matter who it's on. I think it has to be a Vanguard Invader, if I remember correctly. No, it's just anything. The redeploy is on Vanguard Invader, but you just like whatever slot you have open, you put it on them because it doesn't matter. It only comes into play in the before battles, like resolve pre-battle abilities step, and then it doesn't matter anymore. So you usually see it on like a Winged Tyrant or like something random, because this anywhere you have an open enhancement slot, you just windmill slam it. You stuffed royalties into deployment zone, got on top of them, had fixed scoring every turn, the Nids were far ahead. So far ahead was over on turn 4. That is Vanguard for you. They went first, I assume? That's the big one, definitely. No Hierophant. Garbage. This list is shit. It doesn't have a Hierophant. Throw it in the trash. We're gonna stop talking about it anymore. I think you mean a Bile Titan, chat. You know? Hierophant, we all know that a Hierophant's just a ripoff of a Bile Titan. For democracy. All right, David T. also here. We're gonna go through top 8, by the way, chat, and then I think we'll move on to Manchester Super Major. Beats you every time you meet at locals. Oh, dude, man, I like. That's like frustrating to have that person who beats you every time. But man, it's such. I don't know if I like how to say this right, but it's like so inspiring. It's like such a challenge, I guess. I remember like in all the games that I played, if there's like a local who's really good, the first time I beat them, I feel like they're a level boss, right? And the first time I beat them in a game, I'm like, we're doing it. And it's like, I don't know, and it encourages you to like continue to get better. I love having those locals who are like really challenge me. I hate it when I'm just like running over people. What's up, Kitty? It gets really boring. What's up, baby girl? How you doing? All right, David T. Cult of Magic number 2. We got Ahriman, Magnus, Demon Prince. Oh, a Terminator Sorcerer, so we're running Scarab cults today. Plus a regular Thousand Sun Sorcerer with Athenaean Scrolls, so we get additional Cabal points. So he's just like the backline objective holder. He sits in the back and hangs out. This is a little bit of an annoying breakdown. So it's a 5 mana of Rubrics, a 10 mana of Rubrics, a 10 mana of Scarab Occults. The cultist unit's so long. 10 mana Flamers, another 10 mana Flamers, a third 10 mana Flamers. Wow. This is actually a list after my own heart. I think Flamers are criminally underplayed in Thousand Suns. I haven't played Thousand Suns in a couple weeks, but were I to go back, I think post nerfs to the demons, the demon stuff, I think I would put a minimum of 2 cultist units on my list. Because you want one to board control early game, either to do your tacticals in the middle or to body block enemy movement, because they scout move and then advance, and then you can potentially double activate them with, or maybe even triple, who knows, with Temporal Surge. So you can literally like ring your opponent's deployment zone to the unit of scouts and prevent them from moving, of cultists, I should say. But then they die. You generate a CP off of them. You go to the next turn and you like bring in a second cultist unit to do an action. They die. You generate a CP off of them. So theoretically, like if you're staggering your cultist deployment correctly, that you're getting like you're using them as a slightly more expensive but easier to use Zangor Enlightened and getting 2 command points. The third one means that you can like board deploy 2 of them potentially and get 2 turns of body blocking your opponent, and that's just like brutal. A lot of times that like works in concert with the Disc Sorcerer, which I don't think we have here, probably because we spent all our points on cultists. Because you can like physically wrap one enemy unit that's going to come and melee you or shoot you, and then you binding tendrils the other one, and their whole army doesn't move. That's like the goal. It's like so board control-y. Yeah, I don't think we have a binding tendrils guy. Super cool. I like this list a lot. And then a Rhino to do Rhino stuff. Love it. Love it. Necron player played this Thousand Suns? Oh, okay. Want a Biotitan that looks like a Trigon? Oh, like a big Trigon? They used to have a Trigon Prime. That used to be in the old codexes. It was a character. You could upgrade it with relics and stuff. The old Trigon, I believe the resin Trigon's like larger than the plastic one too. I think the old OG Trigons. The Trigons were canonically, I think until the plastic kit came out, Trigons were like canonically Titan sized. They were like huge monstrous creatures in old editions, and they were like the end game of Tyranid like table presence. You're like, oh, a Trigon, that's huge, has 1,000,000 wounds. And then they were like, I don't know, he's the fucking Hierophant, who cares? Trigons were so sick. Back in like 3rd edition, the Trigon was like such a sick sculpt. All right. This is Steven Ross, by the way. 1+ saves in chat. Yeah. Hell yeah. The new Trigon is bigger? Oh, okay. Oh, my bad. I assumed that the resin one was larger. Maybe I just like, maybe my impression of the resin one was like more impressive. So this is a Canoptek court. So we're back to the Canoptek court style. Running an Illuminor Saraz, triple Plasmancer, triple Technomancer, every single Cryptek. Dimensional Sanctum, Hyperphasic Fulcrum on the 2 Technomancers. So we get a 4 deploy guy. Triple Immortals. Kind of a nice little inclusion with the Tesla guns for the Plasmancers. They're a little like a little bodyguard for the Plasmancers. So they let you play your Plasmancers more aggressively so they can use their little nuke on people, their little psychic power to do mortal wounds. They're not psychic power. And then they also give them the improved criticals. So the Tesla weapons get additional sustained hits on 5s. Double Acanthrites to act as forward operators. Double Doomstalkers to shoot people. A bunch of Canoptek Scarab Swarms. We have so many Crypteks that the Scarab Swarms actually hold objectives now, which is sick. Especially because you can play kind of aggressively, like with Cryptek units. At least the Canoptek Wraiths. Give the Scarab Swarms OC so they can like get it secure no man's land and stuff. And then if your opponent shoots at the Cryptek unit, you're just like, lone operative, my guy. You can kill 3 Scarab Swarms. Enjoy that. And then a bunch of Canoptek Wraiths. Yeah, this is classic. One thing I think is cool. No Catan Shards. We're not crutching on the Catan Shards today. We're just running the pure Canoptek stuff, and I think that's sick. It's just all about movement and all about like just tanking 1,000,000 points and having 1,000,000,000 dudes that do mortal wounds into melee. Good stuff. Or I was smaller. Oh, I was definitely smaller. I was a little baby, a little tiny baby boy. The plastic kit is chunky. The old resin one looks more sleek. Yeah, some of that is the the restrictions of in plastic injection molding, because you're not molding solid parts, right? So you have to have a certain level of thickness, which makes all the like chunks up all the detail. Yeah, I remember like I bet we could take a look at a picture of the old resin Trigon. It's got that real 3rd ed Tyranid like vibe, where all the carapace parts are like super long and skinny. Oh, here's the classic one from Hive Fleet Jormungandr. That like this is all the metal Raveners too is like classic. This is or Hive Fleet Moloch. Is this No, Moloch was the red one, right? But the interesting thing about Tyranid is like a lot of their stuff is their now canon are like designer armies that were later canonized. And I think this is one of them. But like you could like its head was just like so much longer. Catan shards feel like they were a mini game to protect them. Yeah, I don't know if it was so much of a mini game as much as like a stat check, right? Because there's some factions that are like a Catan shard. I will increase my damage value by 1. And you're like, no, my 1 weakness, damage bonuses, this sucks. I remember when we were streaming Ides of March, the Black Templars player that we had on stream a couple times, like before every game, he would like, just so you know, I don't know if you have any half damage effects, but I have Sword Brethren, and they basically ignore them. And most of his opponents were like, "That's really good to know." Which is super funny. I appreciate that because it's like such a weird corner case rule, but it's so important to know nowadays. If you're like, my guy's half damage, what will your 2 damage weapons do to him? It's like, my guy, it's not 2 damage, it's 1+1 damage. And you're like, no, math. I've been defeated by math. And it feels like, you rock into all the factions that have just like the point and click adventure game answers to Catan shards, and you're just like, they're like, I'm playing Ironstorm Spearhead with 1,000,000 repulsors, and you're like, okay, all right, so you have like 120 lethal hit shots that reroll everything. All right, well, this sucks. I guess I'm gonna die. I think it's more about dodging the bad matchups than it is about like counterplaying the good ones. It feels like. The old Raveners were better, like the ones with the. I closed the window. Like the old snaky Raveners. I liked the old metal Raveners. They I don't know, they were kind of cool. The old ones, meaning like the 3rd edition ones, when they redesigned Tyranids to all like follow one body plan. I think that was peak Tyranids. When the plastic Carnifex came out, it was like Tyranids peaked in my opinion. And then they just like took it too far and they just started adding things for the sake of adding things. Breachers, yeah, Breachers are a great example. Breachers, Thousand Suns. Like I said, Ironstorm with like little guns. There's so many things that are just like, oh, hey, you have damage reduction. I don't give a crap about that. I'm going to blow you up. Let's go. Mortal wounds, mass mortal wound output. Sorry, buddy. You don't, like, half your defensive abilities don't work on me anymore. We got more Necrons to talk about. Oh, brutal. I feel bad for the rest of the top 8 players here, by the way. Missed top cut, thanks to victory points. Oof, look at this. This is what you got to do to win in the UK, chat. You got to get 500s. You have to drop 15 points in 6 games. You have to drop an average of 3 points per game. Is that right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 7 games. Excuse me. You have to drop an average of 2 points per game. If your opponent blocks you from deploying in like a teleport homer in their deployment zone, you just concede. It's not worth it. Just go home. You're like, I only scored 3 this turn on deploy teleport homers. The game's over. I've lost. I've lost the meta game. I'm out. I can no longer win. Wolf jail. Oh my god. Oh, I think you can put hair in my mouth. Does wolf jail? I'll take your word for it. That one seems a little bit tougher, I guess. I know, like the Blood Crusher list. You want to talk about a unit that's really good at killing Catan shards? They do mortal wounds and have damage bonuses, like and 6 attacks each. You're like, dude, I love to see a Catan shard. First up, take 9, and they're just like, ow, no, half of my health disappeared on the charge, the impact attack. This sucks. All right, well, we get to go from talking about this Canoptek court list to basically another almost identical Canoptek court list. This one drops 5 immortals for another Doomstalker. And some locusts, it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Illuminar Ceres. What else did we drop here? We got a 3rd Doomstalker. We dropped 5 immortals. I'm actually curious. What am I missing? Oh, enhancements? Did we drop enhancements? We did. Okay, we dropped everything but Dimensional Sanctum. That would do it. Oh, and the Scarab Swarms. We dropped the Scarab Swarms. So it has less... I guess it's like it drops 1 utility unit because you get the Locust Destroyers back. So, kind of a side grade. Obviously, clearly effective, though. It seems like we're slowly getting to maybe the best Necron list, and maybe it's Canoptek Court. That's interesting. We played Josh Roberts at this tournament. It was brutal. Just stand on objectives. Try to take you off of it. Yeah, that's the Canoptek Court way. very few things in the game like one-shots the Wraith units, so they don't have to play very cagey. Like, you can't effectively shoot them because whatever unit you're going to line up on to shoot a lot of units at just gets lone operative, so you do nothing. So you got to go in melee. You probably don't one-shot the unit. They punch you back with full rerolls, do a little bit of damage, then they pistol you. Then all the plasmincers hit you with mortals, and you're like, at that point, you're just basically dead. Or they reactive move out of the way, or they reactively reanimate against your charge, and so they have more wounds remaining when you go in. And even if you do kill them, you've killed like 250 points worth of models, maybe 300, right? With the Technomancer and all their stuff, and you've almost certainly committed more than that. Yeah. 280 points of models. And you'd have to commit like huge bricks to kill them. And then they just send the next one. Send in the next wave, boys. Yeah, Canoptek Court's sweet. Can confirm. I'm glad that it's coming back, right? Because like after the devastating wounds interaction was nerfed, people are like, well, it doesn't have any damage output. We're gonna go to Hypercrypt Legion. And then I think like people unlocked the fact that it just becomes this like degenerate defense skew. And honestly, I think that's good for the faction because now they have 2 playable archetypes. It's not like, oh, you either play Canoptek Court or you hamstring yourself to play the fun Hypercrypt. Hypercrypt's very good. Canoptek Court's very good. And you're just playing both of them. We talked about how like it was probably idiosyncratic that the internal balance of Adeptus Mechanicus was like maybe better than Necrons, even though Necrons were dramatically more powerful as a faction. And I think that it's probably still the case, but they still have a reasonable level of internal balance, right? There's still 2, maybe even 3 ways to play them because we have seen some Awakened Dynasty pop up here and there to try to like push the defense skew even harder. Speaking of Adeptus Mechanicus, we have Adeptus Mechanicus also to talk about over here. Chad Richard Grint going 5-1 with Admech. Hell yeah, dude. David Gaylard, Mr. True himself, running a tank commander, Lord Solar, Ursula Creed, infantry squad. No command squad. Big 6 Bulgrins, 3 Bulgrins, all the Khazarkin in the world because they rule. Khazarkin, I'm a Khazarkin convert, by the way. After having played him a couple games, holy shit, that unit rules. They don't do like infinite damage, but they do a lot of damage, and you're like, hold up, how is this 100 points? they'll like plow like 9 damage onto a tank or something, and you're like, well, that was pretty good. Good job, Khazarkin. And you're like, wow, you actually just like dramatically overperformed for your points value. Plus you have like early game board control. Plus you have free orders. It's just good. It's just really good. Double Basilisk, double Manticore for artillery, plus some Scout Sentinels, and a Chimera that we can pregame move and then jump the Bulgrins into, and a Leman Russ. So we basically dropped a tank commander into a Leman Russ to get some additional guys out of the classic list. Seems good. I like it. Tony Chu rocked some Eldar. Double Autarch Wayleapers. What? The Phoenix Gem guy wasn't even the Warlord. He just literally was like, you know what? I think Autarch Wayleapers are so good. I'm just gonna bring one to fight with. I'm gonna bring a combat Autarch Wayleaper with a fusion gun. You know a character's like probably too good when you bring it for its support effect and you bring a second one also for its ability to do damage. And also, to be fair, so score objectives like a Chad. It's a super fast lone operative. It's all good. Behareth. I don't even know what Behareth does in this edition, which is cool. This list is wild, honestly. We're like kind of coming out of the gate swinging. Jormungandr used a Bio Titan that looked like a Trigon, but was the size of a Reaver Titan. That sounds rad. give me a huge Snake Boy to play in a normal game of 40k, and I'll play the shit out of that thing. Give it a roll where it like deep strikes, but it like erupts and everyone gets flung away. That would be sick. It would just be on like a giant base and be totally unplayable. That's probably what happens. All right, let's take a look at Behareth. because that's what we like to do. Baby B. Harith. I went to go click on his thing, on his data sheet, and then I scrolled away by accident. Like a silly goose. There he is. Alright, Zangor Shaman, get out of the way. So he has... I don't know why. So, I mean, rampant Eldar bias here, right? This ability... Like, an ability that affects the leader's unit but doesn't require them to attach to a unit is really cool. And I wish more leaders did that. It's just annoying that in almost literally every other faction, your leaders have to attach to units to get their ability. But in Eldar, they just get extra abilities, like, if they're unattached. Which is so wild to me. And I wish that was a mechanic that they carried over, because I like that they have, like, multiple modes they can play in. You get +1 to hit, and then yeah, you can react. You can shoot and scoot. Cool. He's got a 2 damage pew pew gun with lethal hits, and he's got a 2 damage stabby sword with sustained hits. Love it. Seems pretty straightforward. Do we have dudes for him to join, or is he just a guy? We do have a big unit of swooping hawks. So we got a big unit shooting, scooting, swooping hawks. Shooty, scooty, swoopies. Plus, they get fire and fade after they jump in, so they uppy downy, shoot, move. Super cool. And then you could, like... I don't know if you can combo that with fire and fade too, right? Can you do that? There's probably no rule against it. And then your shooting phase after the unit is shot. End of your shooting phase. Yeah. So you can uppy downy a unit and then move them 20. They're like, all right, man. Just so you know, I'm gonna get behind enemy lines. I'm gonna get it. And you're like, but I've screened you out. How will you do so? I've even screened you outside 6. You're like, no, that's not good enough. You silly goose. You cannot stop the power. So we're running 20 swooping hawks, 20 warp spiders also. So we have the big unit. This is realistically normally the unit that fire and fades, because it gets to like push super far forward and then fire and fade and or phantasm back. And then you just you consistently get the shooting out of it, because it's hard to stop them from getting in line of sight of you because they're so fast. They move 24. They don't move 24 backwards, but they do move 12, I think. Which is good enough for them to be able to escape from your counterpunch, and then they just keep doing it. And they stack enough damage on you that it's really scary. 2 units of fire dragons, rangers, skyweavers, and a skyrunner. This list is really cool. This is like, only cowards pick assassination. I mean, assassination is like unironically not even the right call, right? Fugin's hard to kill. You'll probably get the solitaire. That guy dies immediately. The Death Chester's hard. Like, there are 3 lone operatives, which are the Eldar. If the Eldar player could lose them if they get really aggressive, but a lot of times they don't. And you're probably never gonna get to grips with Behareth. So like, unironically, you probably get 12 on, like 9 or 12 on assassination. You probably never get 15. And then everything else is just like a cool exarch or a cool aspect warrior unit. Leaders need to be more streamlined across factions. Some are useful, others are meh. Yeah, I think it's okay. Like, not everyone has to be, like, have the most insane buff ever. I think the real weirdness with streamers is that, with leaders, Jesus Christ, is that the stuff that they can join into is, like, typically kind of random, right? Like, there could be leaders that jump into more units and make things more interesting, like apply their buffs more widely. And like, I think also they need to play in 2 spaces. And I think right now they're trying to like string a medium between them. I don't know if they're doing it quite right. Where like you either build you have a leader that has like a pretty good effect but can join a bunch of different units. And then you can contrast that with a leader that can only join 1 or 2 units and maybe like supercharges those units, right? Where you take units that are relatively mediocre and then make them super strong with the leader. I think like Cadre Fireblades are good like that, right? Where it's like a leader that can only join into the Fireblade into like the Fire Warrior units, but his ability is like insane. His ability is literally a 50% damage increase, which is nuts, right? But he only joins into one thing. If he hopped into Crisis Battlesuits, that would be kind of silly. That'd be problematic, probably. But because he's so narrow in his focus, you can give him super duper cool abilities. But one thing that they haven't done, I don't think, is like the units in factions where the leaders only join small numbers of units, or small selections of units, don't have specialized buffs for them. And as such, I think it's a missed opportunity. But as we get more codexes and more rules updates, we might see them change. I don't know. Wog Tactics, thank you. Thanks for the shadow, man. Yeah, nice to see you at Adepticon too. Nice to see everybody who came and hung out with me. I really appreciate that. All the people who came by were absolute sweethearts. So it was super cool to see everyone. Make Banshees good again? Hell yeah. 2 of the characters revive and score assassination twice. Not fixed assassination, I believe, right? Or am I an insane person? This is how often I play fixed objectives. I don't even know how they score. I'm totally useless when it comes to fixed objectives. You grab the card real quick. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you double score on fixed, for sure. It's tacticals that you don't double score because you already killed them. I couldn't remember if it used the old verbiage where you checked at the end of the game. Yeah, but that's fair. All right, well, let's talk about some frickin' Tau. Kyle Grundy. Rocking a Cow-Yon. A good old Cow-Yon. Commander Shadowsun, Commander Crisis Commander, Dark Shredder, and Longstrike. A Railgun Longstrike. So I feel like obviously the core... Oh, well, the character layout's pretty different in these, actually. Shadowsun gives a reroll aura. And then a Crisis Battlesuit Commander. Not even like a Cold Star. Double Breacher Teams, double Devilfish, good stuff. Triple Ghost Kill Battlesuits. Holy shit. Okay, wow, this is very different than the list I was going to talk about. So the previous list that we talked about, Adepticon, was like kind of using Skyrays to like fulfill that high toughness requirement, and this one's just like Rock and Longstrike. But we also have Ghost Kill Battlesuits, a Hammerhead Gunship. That's mostly for Longstrike to give his lethal hits to. Double Pathfinder Teams for forward operators. Triple Riptide Battlesuit. This list is nuts. So I love the Shadowsun inclusion here. So Shadowsun's a lone operative, so she can chill with the Ghost Kill Battlesuits, but she also offers rerolls in an aura. So instead of having to rely on Tetras that only reroll for a single unit, and we don't have any Tetras in this list, right? There's not a single Tetra. There's no Tetras at all. That's crazy. Yeah, so instead of relying on Tetras, which give up, bring it down, are pretty easy to kill. Maybe not the whole unit, but individuals they are. We have this lone operative who can sit inside the like battlesuit, like, command and control center, basically, and just give everyone small rerolls instead of giving one person big rerolls. The Crisis Commander is just there to be cheap because the rest of the list is not Crisis Battlesuits, but we've seen him... Is precision? Oh, he doesn't even have any upgrades. He's just a Cyclic Ion Blaster guy. So we see him sometimes as just like a damage output dude. He just he jumps in the corner and blows like a 5-man idiot unit off an objective and like scores you behind him, lines one turret or something. And for 80 points, that's pretty strong, especially since you don't have too many characters, so you're not worried about like your opponent just like windmill slamming assassination. And then we got some backline objective or backline long range shooting with Longstrike, the Hammerhead, and the Riptide Battlesuits, where you're holding down the midboard with breachers and ghost kills. This list is cool as hell. This is so different. What? Like the only repeated units are basically the breacher teams. Everything else is like totally new and exciting. That's super sick. I like this list. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much else to say about it. This list is cool. I'm interested to see where Tau end up after their codex comes out, because this is all like outdated Tau stuff that we're talking about, right? And so, some of those unit archetypes are still relevant. Like a lot of that list hasn't changed in the update, and in some cases even got better, because you get that the Cao Yan stratagem to get +1 to wound on enemies on a selected objective is like super nuts for lists like that. It like really gives you. It really gives you huge bonuses to like the mid-strength guns, like the ion cannons. Yeah. How's it going, Fireball? What's up? Innes Wilson over here running Sons of Sanguinius. We talked about some Sons of Sanguinius recently. Desolation Marines 1-year anniversary. Did they come out March of 23? That's funny. We've got 2 captains, a chaplain with Icon of the Angel, Leonard, and the Sanguinor. Double Assault Intercessors, Impulsors for them to ride in. Assault Intercessors with jump packs. Assault Intercessors with jump packs. Double Flamer Ball Predator. Triple Flamers on these things. Jesus, holy shit. A Death Company Marine Squad to go in the Rhino. A jump pack Death Company Marine Squad for Lamartis to hop into. And then a bunch of Scouts and a Kalados Assassin. Pretty straightforward, honestly. We're just like fighting people with Impulsors. I'm kind of excited that this like Captain plus Assault Intercessor Wombo combo is seeing more play, because it's really good. We talked about how much damage output the captains have last week, and I think it's crazy. I think they like fulfill the like Space Marine Captain power fantasy really well, especially with the Assault Intercessors. Where you're like, I just want my cool Space Marine hero guy to like punch a tank to death, and he's like, all right, you get one of those per game, and you're like, that's all I need. Your unit costs like 150 points. I don't even care about it. Go get him, buddy. Finest hour, bonk. Bonk the tank. Boop the snoot. He's like strength of 10 or whatever on the charge with +1 wound and lethal hits. Love it! I don't remember what Icon of the Angel does. I'm sure somebody in chat will remind me before I get to my data sheets. Icon of the Angel. Forces desperate escape checks when people fall back from you. I guess that's a 10-point filler. Yeah, we were at 1995. So we had 15 points left over and not really anything else to take. The enhancements in the Sons of Sanguinius aren't that exciting. +1 AP is like it's kind of alright, I guess. Anti-Chaos 5-up. Okay. It's supposed to go on a Thunderhammer, I guess, but nah, whatever. Stephen Lee, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, dude. Yeah, we were insane all day. We ran Breedstorm demos we got into the show at 8 a.m. every day. And we ran them until, on average, about 2 a.m. And then we went back to the hotel and we slept for about 4 hours. And then we rolled it back. So we were going for about 18 hours a day, 4 days straight. It was fucking nuts. And it was with a couple of lulls on like Saturday and in like the evenings when everyone went to dinner. We were basically packed the entire time. We were basically running constant demos or like showcasing models and stuff. Yeah, it was absolutely nuts. There were people who came up to us like, end of the show on Sunday, who were like, oh, hey, I'm so glad we finally got to you guys, because you have been busy every time I've come through. And we're like, I'm so sorry. Like, we're only a 2-person team. We can only demo for maybe 4 people at a time or something. But it felt good. It felt like we were kind of like an exclusive Rise of Disney World, you know? Like, people are like, oh, I really want to try this game. So I appreciate that, man. It was awesome. The list is a pain in the ass to play against. Death Company with 10 fists and strength 10 it is crazy for the cost. Yeah, the +2 strength for the power fist is definitely really good. I apologize to the Blood Angels players who are like, hey, this like random +1 strength bonus to Sons of Sanguinius is actually huge. And I was like, well, it seems all right, but like, is it Gladius Task Force? Apparently, yeah, it just is. I think the Assault Intercessor thing, it came abreast with the Assault Intercessor thing, and I think that's also a big deal because you also got this other unit, this additional unit that is also really, really synergistic with that effect that got a big points cut as well, which is awesome. And they have Inferno pistols. Yeah, why not? Yeah, the Inferno pistols are kind of funny because like they're good when you're stuck in a protracted combat and they just like blast you away. But I don't know how often you want to actually shoot with them because you're probably going to kill whatever you charge. You don't want to make your charge harder. But having like it's not bad to have them. You just get it for free, right? All right. I'm going to skip Marcus Hinson over here. I'm sorry, Marcus, but we just talked about Tau 3 times, and they're also like out of season right now, so I don't know. But this is James McGlough running Firestorm Assault Force in Black Templars. We've got 1 Phobos Librarian. That's it. Really? It's 1 Phobos Librarian? There's like, Helbrecht, Grimaldus. Get him out of there. You know what the strongest character in the Black Templars is? The Librarian in Phobos armor. Unironically, probably not wrong. Also, I love that it's a Black Templars unit in the Black Templars army, and the only unit is a Phobos Librarian. Everyone, we need to take bets on how many comments are going to be in the comment section of this live stream being like, how do you take a Phobos Librarian in a Black Templars army? Can't you not do that? No, you totally can. You just can't take them in Righteous Crusaders. As long as we're outside Righteous Crusaders, you can take whatever you want. Which is so funny. Just think of him as a super chaplain. He's using the power of faith to make his unit untargetable at range attacks and also blow everyone's heads up. 3 Crusader squads running Meltiguns and Multi-Meltas because they're cool. All right, seems good. They go to Strength 10 in half range because we're playing Firestorm. Double Eradicators, an Infiltrator squad, a Vanguard Veteran squad. Love this. So we're running a little bit of the Vanguard Veteran, the Devastating Wounds combo. So we can throw Devastating Wounds with Hand Flamers out. Although you're probably not going to do it so much because you don't have access to Vulcan Heston, but it's still pretty good. Double Invader ATVs. So they have reactive fire when you shoot at Outriders. So we have some Outriders that can take up the point there, which is a little bit nice. They got a points cut, I believe, in the last update, which is cool. So they act as a little bit of a utility unit. They're super fast in that detachment. Also, they get assault, right? So they can just run around and do actions and stuff. They're like really hard to stop. Remember the Space Marine value box, thinking maybe the Jump Pack Assault Intercessor is probably good? I think that I actually was like, I was way higher on the Jump Pack Assault Intercessors than I think I should have been. I was like, it's like a utility unit, but it also just like kills 20 infantry in one go. But honestly, like, I think they're fine. I think they're like a solid above average. But compared to the regular intercessors, like full wound rerolls is definitely a hell of a drug. We're then running triple Reapers, triple Valiants. Cool. And a Rhino. Got a Rhino for the Crusader squads to shoot out of the top. That's actually a bit of a surprising offensive unit in this style of list, because you can shoot 2 Meltas off the top at like a pretty long range. The threat range of the strength 10 Melta shot from those guys is conservatively like 24 inches. So people are like, oh, it's just 2 Crusader squads and the Rhino. I'll move up my tank, and then they just kill it. And you're like, what? Hold up. What just happened? I wasn't supposed to die. I don't want to die. No. One thing I was playing that this list also probably pretty good with, but in my Tactical Marine list who's playing Razorbacks as well. Razorbacks, they have fire support, so they can buff the Melta shots out of Devastator squad specifically is really good, but also the little guys too, the Crusader squads. And then just a bunch of gladiators, yeah. Pretty classic. List is cool. Interestingly, yeah, we do have an infiltrator squad, so we do have backline protection with the Phobos Librarian, and that unit can hold down your backline with impunity and without having to worry about like enemy annoying deep strikers killing them. So you can play really like way more aggressively with your assault weapon Black Templars gladiators that are advancing and shooting. That is a cool list. Shout out to whoever shouted that list out, by the way. That list is sick. All right. So we talked about top 8 from Adepticon champs in the Manchester Super Major. Let's talk about the Firebug Open real quick. But God, there's so much 40k this weekend. It's so cool. More Black Templars. Kevin Zollinger running an Ironstorm Spearhead. Basically all of the benefits that we just talked about, but also an Ironstorm. You get a Master of Machine War, Adept of the Omnissiah, Target Augury Web, all on Tech Marines. So we have 3 Tech Marines buffing tanks too. And this is a Crusader build, so we're running 4 Crusader squads with multi-meltas. 2 Rhinos for those guys to jump into. 1 Ballistus for long range. Triple Reaper. 1 Repulsor Executioner. Triple Destructor in a Scout squad. Destructor gets a big benefit, I think, from the lethal hits, too. From the Target Augury. Plus, it's just a... because its strength is kind of mediocre. Because it's just shooting the autocannon profile. But it being mediocre against heavy stuff, but good against like medium infantry and heavy infantry is really strong. It's pretty a fairly good custodian killer if you need one, which is nice. Plus we have all the Reapers team stuff too. Talked about lists like this quite a bit, so I don't know how much more I need to go into, but it's cool to see the triple Tech Marines, not the other lone operative guys that you typically put Master of Machine War on. Sometimes you see like the Combi Weapon Lieutenant. Sometimes you see some other dudes, but not today. The Black Templars list is designed to trigger you. So, too many Predators. Leagues of Votann, also undefeated. Double Grimnir and a Call. Plus 1 Hearthkin Warrior unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know what it is about. It feels like specific. This is Germany, right? Is this Denmark? These Germany, yeah. Yeah, in Germany. I don't know what it feels like we see in German events. In US events, it feels like we're real Hecatan Land Fortress pilled. I don't know what it is about EU events where we see Sagittors so often. It's super funny though. I think like, I don't know. American players feel like they were like, oh, our Sagittors went up. I never want to play them again. Even though they're like, they're still so stupid. You get to constantly answer your opponent like, why are they strength 10? Why are they strength 10? Why do they move 12? Why do they scout so far? I don't get it. Somebody explain. And then we're running 15 Herngen Pioneers. Yeah, we've seen this list before. So we have 6 Sagittors, 2 Cthernian Berserks go into the 2 of the Sagittors, 2 Grimnirs do not attach to units and jump into the other 2 Sagittors, and then the Hearthkin Warriors combat squad into the 2 remaining Sagittors. So basically, like the entire list jumps into Sagittors. You pre-game move and move like all your entire army 1,000,000 miles up the table, and your opponent can never get to your like the midfield, so you can put your deep strikers wherever you want. And then you just have 1,000,000 really like pretty high value gunshots from the Sagittors, backed up by good shooting and good melee and out of the Chthonians and the Grimnirs inside the Sagittors. And you just out damage your opponent that way. Very classic and cool list. They got to do something about the Black Templar free multi-meltas. I bet. I mean, let's be real, chat. What are the chances that the Crusader squad survives a new codex? It doesn't have a kit, right? Or does it? It's just built out of scout squads and tactical marines. Yeah, it's just the only thing on the Warhammer website is the Primaris Crusader squad. I think that it's a question kind of like the free cyclic ion blasters, right, at a Tau, where it's like this is like it's just automatically the way you're going to build the unit, right? You're going to put a bunch of cyclic ion blasters, but that's such a legacy. It's a legacy war gear option that's not supported by the current model range. Not that it's not supported. It's just like it doesn't have a bespoke kit. I think once these guys get updated to 10th, the Firstborn Crusader squad's axed. I don't think they're that worried about it because I don't think it's going to survive very long. It's kind of sad because I like the like heavy weapon team kind of the unit that's like using the firing deck in an interesting way, but it's definitely way too efficient. Like that, especially because tactical marines are more expensive and way worse. Like that unit needs to be 85 or 90 points. It's weird that it's 75. Like I don't know why they're so cheap. Was watching on a slight delay as previously. Oh, the Phobos Librarian. The Phobos Librarian Black Templars list is incredibly trolly. I kind of like. I know that it's like we're building that list because it's efficient, right? You're like, oh, I need a character to be my warlord, and I'm already going to take an infiltrator squad, so we're going to make the infiltrator squad invincible, and take this cool Phobos Librarian, right? And in the list, it's entirely based around just shooting you with tanks and doesn't actually need character support. He's the most utilitarian character, but also it's like such a troll. I just feel like I'm being led by only a librarian. I love it. I love it. It's so funny. Also the vehicles. To be fair, the vehicles cost 5 extra points, right? The benefit is that they have the multi-meltas, but the multi-meltas do actually cost them points because the vehicle data sheet's slightly more expensive. At least that has been the case. It's the case in the current MFM, right? I guess before I say that with certainty, we should probably double check. I know that was the case on release. I don't know if they've ever updated it. So Black Templars Gladiators are 165, 155, 155. And then yeah. The base Space Marine Gladiators are less expensive. I mean it's like they do literally spend points on them and maybe they deserve to be 10 more points instead of 5 more points, but also like I think it's more of an issue that it's like so much more of a, especially with the, it feels like to me, especially with the Valiant and the Reaper, like the top mounted multi-melta is just like playing into exactly what game plan they want to do. And it's like the pintle mounted like heavy stubbers or whatever that you get on the other guys, like don't really matter. I don't know. That feels like much like less of an issue to me than the Crusader Squad thing, to be honest. Because like a Crusader Squad is a unit that doesn't like, it doesn't really have like an it doesn't have an analog anywhere else. Whereas like Black Templars, if you play Black Templars, you just get the option to upgrade your Gladiators to have a multi-melta. I think that's okay. But I don't know. I guess it's like the real problem is that the reason you're in Black Templars is that you get more access to multi-meltas, which kind of doesn't make sense. Like that would be a reason. Like if that was Salamander's thing, where they're like, oh, you could put multi-meltas on your tanks, you'd be like, all right, I get that. But it's like weird that it's a Black Templars thing. I don't know. But that has been kind of traditional. Somebody I'm sure can tell me if there's like a lore justification for it. But Black Templars, like Land Raider Crusaders, if I remember correctly, were the first Land Raider to have a pintle-mounted multi-melta. And for the longest time, through like 4th edition, you could only take them if you were in Black Templars to begin with. The Crusaders are making the tanks play better. Yeah. Yeah, they also just like, the Crusaders like perfectly synergize with all of the Firstborn tanks too, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm a tactical squad and I'm cheaper. and you don't have to take 5 extra dudes, and 2 of us fit into a Rhino, and we have 2 heavy weapons which fit into your firing deck. Like, so like it's like a perfect stack of like perfect synergies. So I don't know. I think that list is really cool though. Like, to be clear, it might be that the unit's probably too cheap, but I think the archetype of unit is one that I would like to see more often, to be fair. Like, a unit that has good synergy with like aggressive transports is really cool. I don't like the transports just like sit there and score points. It's really annoying. And I wish transports were worse. I think transports are really broken, but I like the lists that play them like really aggro. I like them a lot. All right, let's talk about some freaking Sky Splinter. Speaking of transports being broken, we'll talk about some Sky Splinter Assault. We've got double. This is Gregor, Werner, by the way, or Werner, I guess. 3rd place, undefeated at Firebug Open 2024 to reorient ourselves. Running 2 Archons, a Nightmare Shroud guy, and a Spiteful Raider guy, so extra pain tokens when he kills people. Beastmaster and Lilith Hexperax. Love it so far. Double Cavalite Warriors, Witches for Lilith. Double Raiders, quad Venoms. Ooh. 3 units of Incubi, 2 units of Mandrakes, 2 Ravagers, 2 Scourges. Classic. So we've got 2 big Cavalite Warrior bricks. I think a lot of times we'll combat squad one of those. We'll drop the Witches in a Raider with Lilith because we want to have her survive. But you could also combat squad her into the Venoms. 2 of the Venoms get taken up by Incubi, and 1 of the Raiders gets taken up by Incubi. Yeah, and then Cavalite Warriors just drop into the other 2. I guess you could drop in... you could jump in like the heavy weapon teams or the light dudes. And you could put 2 of the heavy weapon guys into a Raider and the little guys into a Venom. It's probably the way it goes, to be honest. If you are splitting off Lilith Hexperax's unit. But yeah, I mean, we've seen this is like, so it feels like sort of like Sky Splinter good stuff, right? Where you're like, hey, big breaks of Incubi with Archons are good. Although we don't have enough Archons to join in all of them, right? So one of them is just a regular unit. Which I guess you don't... It's like good at clearing infantry just fine, right? They have enough attacks and they have lance, so they're good at killing the little stuff. It's just whether or not you need the wound rerolls. But if you're hitting into like T4, you just clear through them anyway. You don't even need the rerolls. And then some utility and a bunch of backline shooting with Dark Lances. We have a Haywire Blaster unit. Sorry, it's keeps about booting me to the top. A Haywire Blaster unit, so we got some anti-tank. Some devastating wound anti-tank as well. Sick. So far, so good. Playing Inky for a weird cat commercial. Yeah, she's sponsored, by the way. YouTube's sponsoring my stream. All right, chat. Well, we've been going for a while. My voice is a little tired, as you can probably kind of tell. Does anybody have any requests for factions that we want to dive into before we wrap things up? This has been really illuminating. Lots of Black Templars, lots of Tau, obviously, at least for the time being. A little bit of a last hurrah for Tau, maybe, until their codex comes out. Who knows? But overall, like, pretty healthy, right? Pretty good selection of other stuff at the top. I guess a lot of Necrons, too. So, like, Necrons and Tau probably a little overrepresented, but we also talked about some Chaos Demons. We talked about some, what else do we have in Manchester? Talked about some Blood Angels. Talked about some Astra Militarum. Oh, we didn't, did we skip Adeptus Mechanicus? Oh my god, chat. Chat, I talked up our Adeptus Mechanicus, and I literally fucking went directly down to the Tau Empire entry. Oh, what have I done? I feel so bad. All right, Richard Grint. The Adeptus McChadicus himself, running some Skitari Hunter cohort. We got to talk about that, of course. I can't believe I just like didn't even click on his. I like talked up his list and didn't click on it. What a moron. This is gonna be a lot of Skitari. Where's a Darren in chat when you need him? A Darren, come out here. We got to talk about a trash mountain Skitarii list. Triple marshals, clandestine infiltrators, so the infiltrate plus scout, veiled hunter, so the shoot and scoot, or veiled hunter, excuse me, for the redeploy, battlesphere uplink for the shoot and scoot. 1 ranger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vanguard. There it is. 3 Scorpius Dune Riders. So we got a lot of tanky vehicles. They're not that tanky. They're relatively tanky. But they also give you fire support, and they give you 1,000,000 shots. 1 unit of Corpuscari Electro Priests. That's cool. What are they doing in here? I guess like maybe if we're like rocking our Dune Riders anyway, like we could take them. They do have like a cool synergy with Dune Riders, right? Because they shoot 1,000,000 times and then they get wound rerolls. But they don't have, they're not Skitarii keyworded, so I don't think they have any synergy with the detachment, I guess. And you're not, there's no characters that go into them. Oh, maybe there are Techno-Archaeologists, actually. Nope. And I don't believe the Inquisitors can join them because they are not battle line. Interesting. I'm sure an Admech player could come in here and tell me. I guess they're also just like 60 points and they shoot 1,000,000,000 times, right? Sustain 2 with 3 shots each, so they shoot 15 times to sustain 2, so they should put 15 wound rolls on somebody. I don't know. James McGlough is in chat. What's up, dude? Thanks for shouting out the list. The Phobos Librarian better than Helbrecht. Yeah, don't get into a fight, but those two characters. Helbrecht might have something to say about that. But if Helbrecht's strategic reserving, he's never going to get that fight because he can't attack him. Phobos Librarian invincible. Too strong. I'm kind of excited to go back to Space Marines at some point and rock some Phobos Librarians. I kind of want to play like an all Phobos list. All Vanguard. Maybe all Vanguard list or something. We're going through Tactical Marines right now, but maybe Vanguard over on the Purple channel. All right. 1 trillion Tyraxi Sky Stalkers. 1, 2 units. Okay, it's not 1 trillion, it's 10. We do have 1 trillion to sterilizers. Literally the maximum legal amount of sterilizers. So we are getting all the buffs. You can +1 to wound them. You can full reroll them if they're your enemy's on objective. And they just trash things for super cheap. Triple Cerberus Raiders, Sulfur Hounds, Sicarian Infiltrators. So tons of forward operation too. Really, all this list wants to do is lock you in your deployment zone, stop you from moving. An Infiltrator Squad, and then Kyria Draxus. She's really good with a fire supporting unit. So she can disembark, and once you're shooting from the Scorpius Dune Rider, she shoots a bunch of times and has like a pretty good brick of devastating wounds. Plus she passes out grenades to the unit too, which is also good. I wonder if the Inquisitor is also doing the same thing, actually. Because like the ironic thing about this detachment or this list is that it has like it just doesn't do anything with its CP, right? It's like I could spend all these command points on my Skitarii units, but it's always like 10 toughness 3 idiots. So I don't even care about them. Like maybe I'll feel no pain the big bricks of Tyraxi so that they're kind of like tankier against 2 damage. And like sometimes you do the +1 to wound, and like sometimes you do the uppy downy. Program to draw. But like for the most part, you're kind of like just drowning in command points, especially if you're running tacticals and you have to drop some objectives sometimes. And so having grenades like dramatically improves the damage output of the army. And so we might just be taking random idiot agents of the Imperium characters to throw grenades at people. Where is the Inquisitor datasheet? Here he is. Yeah, he's got a grenade. That definitely helps. And he gets more CP. And so the interesting thing about the CP refund abilities, which I think is really kind of cool, is that it doesn't actually discount the stratagem. It refunds command points spent on the stratagem. So if you like bail these guys out of a transport and then like program to draw them or grenade with them, even though those aren't battle tactics, you can still gain CP from them. So he actually like is just like basically free CP to your army for a little bit. You can spend it on any objective, which is cool. It actually makes, in a lot of instances, it makes command point refund mechanics just strictly better than free strat like mechanics. Maybe it's a side grade from duplicated strats stuff like Rites of Battle, but it's definitely better than just like, oh, you spend a strat for free, because those are only battle tactics, which is usually pretty limited. I like that this guy has to take his hat off to unplug to like recharge his little bionic eye. His plug goes through his hat. I didn't notice that before. That's funny. James played round 3, 4, 5 versus Hypercrypt. Felt like a genius. Get wrecked, Hypercrypt. I love that the Phobos Librarian and techno-archaeologists and like that one mystic dude in the stupid henchman squad, they're like single-handedly holding up the meta from Hypercrypt. They're like, don't worry guys, we got this. Like, we'll mess with Hypercrypt with our Omni Scramblers. I appreciate that. And Darkstrider. Darkstrider's in there too. Like the Atlas is like their little Atlas is over here putting the entire game on their shoulders. Don't worry guys, we got this. No one will fully main Hypercrypt and they'll switch to Canoptek Court because we screw with them so hard. Yeah, anyway, lots of dudes in this one. The only interesting, the thing I'm really interested in is those Corpuscari, and I hope somebody can give me a little bit of insight on those dudes, because I don't really know what they're doing. I guess we're at exactly 2,000. I almost wonder if they would have been a third Skystalker squad, but we just ran out of points and we're like, they're 60. So it's fine. Because sometimes I think we see 10 Skystalkers and we cut like the Inquisitor in one of the enhancements maybe. Or one of the Cerberus units. Yeah, Inky, what do you think about Corpuscari Electro Priests? Alright. Somebody asked about Grey Knights. I haven't seen any Grey Knights so far. Okay, well, you know. So All Is Dust had Grey Knights at the top. You asked if it was not Nemesis Dread Knights. But this one is, so. Yeah, this is 6 Nemesis Dread Knights and 3 Armiger Helvrins. My guy, calm down with the walkers, dude. Holy shit. Inky does not like that list. She's like, too many walkers, my guy. Need more snugglers. So I haven't looked through every single GT chat, but I would say it's probably unlikely that we have too much. Oh, that's a team event. We have too much stuff too many lists, events are, that had top Grey Knights with no, you almost fell down, you silly goose, with no Dread Knights. So I think every Tau list needs at least 1 unit of Pathfinders. Not really. I mean, I don't think you need Pathfinders, because I think Tau's other forward operators are pretty good. Like, Tetras. And Piranhas. But Pathfinders are good enough that I think they compete with that stuff. But I don't think it's required. I think Darkstrider's really good, though. Like, you're already taking Darkstrider, and while you have Darkstrider, you almost might as well have Pathfinders, because they're already good and he makes them better and they protect him. But you're probably taking Darkstrider anyway, because having a single entity Omni Scrambler aura is really good. What are you doing, kitty? Silly goose. Some people asked about Death Guard. Monster Mash Demons. We got some demons at the top, towards the top here. Joe Biscard with Chaos Demons. Bellicor, Guo, Lord of Change. Oh, that's a Monster Mashy right there. Those are some Monster Mash. That's some hardcore Monster Mash energy if I've ever seen it. Yeah, we'll look at the Death Guard after this chat. I'm Chaos Demon pilled though, so that's what we're jumping on. Triple Nurglings, Plague Bearers, 1 Blood Crusher unit. Do we have any characters for them? No, they're just guys. They're just normal men, just innocent men. Double Fleshhounds. Oh, and the Secret Chariot! Yay, the Secret Chariot technology is being explored. Let's go. Secret Chariot is so good. It's 65 points. It has 13 melee attacks, and most of them are anti-infantry for devastating. It's like, for 65 points, it just like automatically kills 5 dudes. And it's a remove 14 single entity unit with a 4+ invulnerable save. So it like doesn't even die that often if you shoot at it. You have to dedicate like a lot to kill it. They're unironically super strong. The problem is it's mounted instead of infantry though, or beast. So it's not quite as good, I think, as 5 Fleshhounds at doing actions, I should say. Oh, hi, baby. Yeah, I know, you're so cute. As 5 Fleshhounds or 3 Screamers, but it is 5 points cheaper and better at fighting. So, I like it. Cat, do you mind? Jesus Christ. Yeah, I like this list. This is sweet. Greater Demons. Step 3 Profit. That's Joe Biscard. We are on the same page about correct Chaos Demon play. A lot of people on Shalaxi Hellbane still. I might have to play Shalaxi Hellbane. I think she keeps failing her charges when I play her with rerolls. Which makes me mad. I'm like, it's a 6-inch charge with a free reroll. What could go wrong? Turns out, lots of things, and she could fail 4 of them in a row. And lose me the game almost. I think that game might be going up on the second channel pretty shortly, actually. I have a game where Shalaxi Hellbane failed 4 consecutive charge rolls. I was like, cool. I love this for you, Shalaxi. All right. Scott Toebe over here, the Lord of Virulence, Mortarion, and Typhus. 2 units of Death Shroud Terminators, 3 Fetid Bloat Drones, 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, 2 War Dog Brigands, and 3 Nurglings. So not the full 3 War Dog Brigands, but we're pretty close. But otherwise, we got the mortar team in the back with the Lord of Virulence giving Blight Bombardment plus ignore hit modifiers with Mortarion. Fetid Bloat Drones are good for fighting over the midboard, and we have a bunch of Death Shroud Terminators to come in and just like wound reroll people to death. We're doing Typhus plus the Death Shrouds, which is actually kind of sweet. Typhus, you oftentimes see him by himself, and I think he's another interesting example of it's the cool thing about the leader mechanic, right? Where you can have a character basically act as 2 things. I just talked about this with Behareth. Like, you can play Behareth as like kind of, he's not a lone operative, right? But he's like a lone entity, and he's hard to get to grips with because he's always shooting and scooting. Typhus is similar, where you can play him by himself, and like he'll just deep strike and blow up like a tank for a trillion wounds, for like 4 wounds or whatever, and then like do an action, which is worth 80 points in and of itself, and then your opponent has to go kill him. But also, he gives Death Shroud Terminators -1 to be hit. So you can stack that with the -1 weapon skill Plague, and they actually just get like hyper tanky, and he hits hyper hard like inside them. So he just like is this little brick of like 4 dudes that just like fight and win over the midboard. Against like aggressive melee enemies, especially ones that don't have like lots of good hit rerolls, he's like, I don't know, have fun hitting me on 5s, idiots, and then they just bounce off of him and he kills the entire unit. He's really cool inside a Terminator squad, but you don't need it, which is like kind of sweet. So you can play 2 different modes of Typhus. I also think it's cool that all of those that decision making can be made in the battle formation step. So you can play Typhus as the utility unit if your opponent's playing a gun line and doesn't really care about Death Shroud Terminators that are like stealthy. Or you can have him be like this kind of immovable object against melee enemies. I think that's sweet. I like it. Typhus is really strong. As soon as Typhus was already seeing play before they buffed him. As soon as I saw that like 15 or 20 point discount on Typhus, I was like, he's in every list now. You are not like legally allowed to play a Death Guard list without Typhus, because he was already good, and now he's just cheap and good. Crazy. That was I'm not like upset about the change, because I think Death Guard definitely needed the help, and just giving them their like staple characters for cheaper is like a good way to just improve the win rate of a faction. But it is like kind of funny that he just became this auto include. Like he's the Magnus the Red of of Death Guard, which you would assume would be Mortarion, given that they're both demon Primarchs, but like, nah, it's just this little idiot Terminator guy who like throws bees at people. All right, chat. Well, that being the thing, Inky's like lemming at me right now. That being the discussion, I think we're gonna go ahead and call it there. It's been a good one. What a week for 40K, by the way. I mean, between Adepticon, Firebug, and the Manchester Super Major, we had like an LVO happen, right? Manchester Super Major was 300 people, 270. Adepticon, I don't even know how many. Firebug is 150. I guess I can look at placings. Inky, you're in the way. 259. Yeah, so we had like 800 players between just those 3 events, and we also had like a normal number of GTs happen additionally. So like, this has been one of the, like, there's just the biggest weekends of 10th edition. It's super cool to see. Outside LVO, obviously. Yeah, just exciting. Hot Typhus hits like a 4-attack Carnifex, literally the Scything Talon profile. Well, it goes to show you that a small man with axe is as good as like the dedicated anti-tank Tyranids, because Tyranids melee profiles suck so hard. But it's okay. Tyranids are biovores, and so their win rate hasn't suffered. Very diverse meta, yeah. Especially like if you look at X and ones, right? Like looking at the undefeated stuff, at least in these events that we looked at, which tends to strain out the mid-tier stuff that's just played really well. Like that stuff can get kind of filtered out by the really, really strong stuff. And so we see like Black Templars, and we see some Necrons, and like a little bit of overrepresentation from those factions. But at the X and ones, like everything's in there, you know. Got some Grey Knights, we got some Demons, we got some Death Guard. It's all doing stuff. All right, chat. There's Inky's tail. She's showing everybody. the fadeaway log off burn. I am gonna go ahead and pop it off there. Thanks everyone for coming and hanging out with me. I've got a couple of videos that should be coming out later on this week. I may go back and do a best armies video tomorrow, just as I like quantify the data. Basically, it'll be out of like date, and I'm sure nobody will click on it, but I might do it anyway because I was driving yesterday. Thanks to everybody who came out and saw me at Adepticon. I really appreciated all the people who came out and said nice things to me, and also came and demoed Breachstorm. Breachstorm had an amazing weekend. It was super exciting. We're like super jazzed about all the new stuff that's coming out. So if you haven't checked it out, please do so. That would mean a lot to me. But also we're going to be talking about 40K all week. I got some videos cooking, which I think should be fun. And I'm playing in a finals event. We've scheduled it for Friday evening, so if you're around and not doing anything super exciting, then the Black Crusade Online Finals, which is a big TTS GT, we've qualified for the top 2 with Chaos Demons. We're fighting against a bunch of War Dogs. We'll see if the Chaos Demons can kill them. My Bloodthirster has a great track record of doing stone cold fucking nothing this event, so we'll see if he can turn it around in the final game and actually kill some War Dogs, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be a fun game, win or lose, and it's been a super fun event. So come hang out with me on Friday. I think I'm going to try to get some streams in tomorrow and Thursday. No promises. It depends entirely on what else is going on, but I'd like to get some like prep games in. It's just jam some games with some fun lists. And also, I'm going to try to rest my voice a little bit so I don't sound like a husky lumberjack as much when I do my live streams. Unless that's cool. In which case, let me know in the comment section and I'll do it more. So yeah, thanks everyone. I will see you in the next one. Remember to keep it classy, folks. Have happy wargaming and have a good Tuesday.